Hell of a fourth quarter and overtime you got to witness in person yesterday, Kurt.
Yes, it was. The first three quarters, not so much. We're kind of wondering what was going on when somebody was going to get something going offensively. But sure enough, we got it there late in the game, and we got to see all the magic, and we got to see a great finish that came down to great players making great plays, and that so much and so often, as I know personally, is what Super Bowls are about. You know, who's going to have their moment, who's going to make that play, and we saw a lot of great plays in the game. But number 15 and company, made the plays when they mattered most, and once again, going on with the championship.
So it was interesting to see a spy on Brock Purdy often from the Niners defense, but not one on Mahomes. And I feel like by the end of the game, Mahomes realized, oh, that's right, I'm the extra guy. The math adds up to me being able to use my legs an awful lot. Is there anything that San Fran could have done, or is that just a great read and integration of that part of his game by Pat Mahomes?
He's been really good at this for years, is understanding situational football, and in critical moments using his legs. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes he does it too quickly, but you don't necessarily notice it at other times in games because you're not really thinking about it. But it sure seems like, whenever he needs that play, he understands kind of in those critical situations what he's looking at. So you get into a 3rd and 1, and I think, and this is just me, I've never talked to Patrick about it, but I think he comes back going, okay, I know what the play is, but I'm going to read this linebacker, and I'm going to see if this linebacker, goes moving into coverage in some particular way, and I'm going to look for a little opening to see if I can use my legs and take off, because there's times that it happens so fast that you're really surprised that he takes off and runs. So I believe there's something in his mind ahead of time, or maybe it's, I'm going to come back and look at my first read, and if that's open, I'm going to take it. But then if not, I'm going to go try to create on my own. And, and he's just the perfect package of everything when it comes to being a quarterback. He plays the ball he plays the game incredibly well inside the pocket, mentally, on schedule. He can play it incredibly well off schedule. We've seen that so many different times. And he's a great decision maker in those moments of, what to use, and to use his legs or to use his arm, and make those decisions. And so you put it all together, and you get what we've seen. You get special. And in the special moments, he's got all those tools, but he also is a tremendous decision maker in terms of what to use, what tool to use, kind of like a golfer, what club to use in each of those different situations. And he does it extremely well.
We've talked to you at points this year about building a team around Fields. We've talked to you a little bit about the team that Purdy has around him and how people use that as a knock on him. Mahomes has Kelsey, a first ballot Hall of Famer, and there's Rashee Rice, and MVS catches a touchdown, and Hardman catches a touchdown. How impressive is it that Mahomes is elevating that supporting cast that led the league in drops this year in your mind?
I think it's all relative a lot of times. Is that when you win championships, you win as a team. And, we're going to continue to give Patrick credit as he deserves, because you're right, it wasn't the greatest supporting cast offensively, but he had a great supporting cast defensively.
Yep.
I mean, we can't forget that they were in this game because they have a great defense. I mean, their defense played great, even though they got dominated in the first half. I felt, or at least it felt like that. They never let this game get out of hand. In the second half, they shut down the 49ers, and they played great football and kept giving it back to Patrick and company and saying, okay, come on, at some point, make those plays for us, knowing that he's going to. But I don't think we can discredit that. And I think too often we do is we give credit to the offense or the quarterback without really, understanding, oh, wait, hold on. He did have a great team. It just didn't look like the great teams that he's had in the past. with that being said, I think it's important to realize that, and I kind of tweeted this. I don't think Patrick has played a great Super Bowl yet, and that's probably the scary part. Is they've got 3 championships, and you go back and look, he hasn't played, especially early in games in the first half of Super Bowls. He hasn't played very well.
There are 3 double-digit comebacks, though. They're only having 7 times in Super Bowl history. He's got 3 of them.
But I feel you in the first half. Even last night, he held the ball a lot and took a bunch of sacks.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, and again, you let him hang around long enough, he's going to make some drives. And, the other thing you have to realize in double-digit comebacks, it also falls to your defense having to stop the other team from scoring. That you come back from 10 points, I get it. It's a 2-score game, but your defense has to continue to stop them and not make it 10 points again and 10 points again. But yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that he has played awful and he hasn't made plays. He obviously has. He's got 3 Super Bowl MVPs and he made a bunch of plays last night. But it's just from what I'm accustomed to seeing and him playing on schedule. And there were a number of times he's looking right at guys that are open and he's not throwing it. And there's other times where he's taken off a little too fast, in my opinion. So I just didn't think he played a great football game. But when it mattered, he made the plays. And it was just different this year than, than the way they've played in the past. It's so much dink and dunk and short throws and winning first down, which I thought was a huge thing last night, was either team, when they lost first down or they lost the early downs and were behind the sticks, they got stopped over and over again. And that was such a key late in the game, was winning first downs and making some plays early on so you stayed ahead of schedule. But I mean, no doubt you give Patrick credit because this wasn't a great supporting cast and he made the plays and, with all those different guys and all those different situations. And maybe that is a big reason why he moved a little faster last night than normal, is not full trust, not drop back and playing the same way, but being more creative to win. And the Patriots, I was always impressed because, Tom was great, but during their run, they won different ways. They won with their strength being, different things at different times. And, in this day and age, I think that's how you have to, put a dynasty together. Back in the day, you could keep your Hall of Famers together and you could have those guys for 7, 8 years and, have 8 or 10 of those guys. And, you could run through the league because you were just flat out the best team. What to me was so impressive with the Chiefs this year is they won a championship a different way. Patrick had to play a different way. They were leaning on their defense, this year instead of their offense, and they still won a Super Bowl. That's impressive, and that to me is what makes this really, really special. And I'm excited to see where they go from here because I'm sure they're going to have to evolve. Maybe lose some of these defensive players that were so good and going to evolve on offense and add some pieces to see what they become. But it was really, really impressive. But I just, want to give love to that defense because that defense was great this year and they were great last night. And they set Patrick up to be able to make that comeback. It wasn't just Patrick Mahomes making that comeback.
Good stuff on what a modern dynasty needs to look like in winning different ways from Kurt Warner. Last thing, Kurt, what did you think of the new overtime rule as it played out in terms of its equitability and Kyle Shanahan's decision to take the ball first?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the new rules. I guess I don't really care either way. Old rules, new rules, because it is a team game, and I've always felt like whatever it is, you either got to play defense, you got to play offense, and you got to win your side of the ball. And it was the same thing last night with the new rules. You had to do kind of the same thing if you're going to win. But regardless, that's fine. Give both teams a shot at it. I'm okay with that. And then I didn't like the decision personally. And I understand that there's a third possession aspect to it. But when I'm making a decision like that, I'm not making a decision for the third possession. If we get into overtime, give me the ball, tell me what I need to do, and let's go win it or lose it. I'm not handing it back to the other team going, oh, well, we tied them again. Let's get, because eventually that's going to get away from you, in my opinion, when you start giving teams, the ball back. So to me, it's really about those, the first possession for both teams. Now, again, there may be something that goes wrong on your possession and you have to give it back to them. And so, that lends itself to that third possession. But I want to give it to the other team, and I want you to put me on the field and tell me what I need to do. Do I need a field goal at least? Do I need a touchdown? Do we have to score a touchdown and then we're going for 2 because we're not handing it back to Patrick Mahomes? I don't care what it is, but that's how I'm playing it. I just, to me, in my mind, I can't imagine making a decision at that point going, well, if we don't score, or if we don't finish this game, we'll at least get it back after the other team, after the other team goes. That doesn't calculate in my mentality in the Super Bowl, in that moment, going into overtime. To me, it's about the first possession. Either way, you go down and score, it's about that first. You got to stop him, right? You have to stop Patrick Mahomes. That's where the game, to me, is going to be won and lost. So I would have done it the opposite. I would have kicked to Kansas City, and whatever. Maybe your defense was tired. Yes, Kansas City had been playing well, but the way I kind of look at it when you get into situations like that is, and they got San Francisco got the holding penalty. But my bigger concern in that situation is you come out in that first drive of overtime and you're a little bit more conservative because you don't want to make a mistake and you don't want to give it back to the other team. But then you go 3 and out and you punt it away, and the other team's got great field position anyways, and they're set up to win, which almost happened for San Francisco. They got the defensive holding penalty, and then they made the drive and went down to kick the field goal. But taking it and being pinned back, that's going to be the case right off the bat. I would put the pressure on them to feel like they've got to do something in that first drive, and maybe they make a mistake, and then bottom line is we know what we're getting, what we have to get, what we have to do. You hear people talk about it. You have that kind of fourth down mentality now. If the other team scores, that, hey, I get 4 downs here. I get 4 downs to do whatever I want. And maybe even so, even if they don't score, I think there's part of you that goes, well, we're going to go win this football game. And you can almost take that fourth down mentality, like we're going down, we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure that doesn't get to a third possession.